Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the reality of debt in America. But more importantly, we're going to give you a clear, actionable path to get you back in the driver's seat and on your way to real financial freedom. So let's just dive right in with one single powerful number, $104,755. As of mid-2025, that is the average total debt for an American consumer. And that's everything: mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student loans, the whole shebang. You know, this six-figure sum, it's kind of become the new normal for a lot of people. But what does it actually mean for your life, for your financial health? And seriously, how did we even get here? Let's unpack the story behind that big number. Okay, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with a problem, then we'll look at how it breaks down by age. After that, we get into the good stuff, the practical playbook, the different strategies, the common mistakes you've got to avoid, and then finally, your blueprint for getting that balance back down to zero. Right, so that big average number, it doesn't really tell the whole story, because it's not the same for everyone. In fact, if you look at the data, you start to see that debt follows this really predictable arc across our lives. It rises and falls with our careers and all those big life stages. And you can see that pattern so clearly right here. Debt starts out relatively low for Gen Z, right? Then it just shoots up like a rocket for Millennials and hits its absolute peak with Gen X. Then, as folks head into their baby boomer years and beyond, you see it start to come back down. This chart just drives that point home, doesn't it? That peak debt moment is right there with Gen X. They're carrying, on average, over 158 grand in debt. That's way higher than the national average. So why? What is going on there? Well, it's really not that surprising when you realize Gen X is often called the sandwich generation. They're right in their prime earning years, for sure, but they're also getting squeezed from both sides. They're juggling their own big expenses like mortgages while also, in many cases, helping out their adult kids and their aging parents. That is a ton of financial pressure. So, here's the crucial point. Once you figure out where you are on this debt journey, how do you actually start to fight back? How do you bring that number down? The great news is, you've got options. You get to choose your weapon. And it really boils down to a choice between two powerful philosophies. We're calling it the mind versus the math. One approach is mathematically perfect. It's designed to save you the most money. The other is all about psychology. It's designed to keep you motivated and in the game. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's break down exactly how each of these methods gives you a step-by-step path to getting that balance to zero. Okay, first up is the debt avalanche. Now, if your number one goal is to pay the absolute least amount of interest over the life of your loans, this is it. On paper, it is the most efficient, mathematically sound way to wipe out your debt. The process is pure logic. First, you list all your debts by their interest rate, from the highest down to the lowest. Then you make the minimum payments on everything just to stay current. But, and this is the key, every single extra penny you have gets thrown at that debt with the highest interest rate. Once it's gone, you take that whole payment and roll it over to attack the next one on the list. But hey, what if pure math isn't what gets you fired up? What if your brain needs to see progress to stay motivated? Well, that's where the debt snowball comes in. This method is all about building momentum to keep you in the fight. With the snowball, you completely ignore the interest rates. Instead, you list your debts by their balance, from the smallest to the largest. You make your minimums, but you throw all your extra cash at that smallest debt until it's gone. Boom! That quick win feels amazing. It gives you this huge psychological boost, and then you snowball that entire payment into the next smallest debt. And look, this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's actually backed by research. Studies show that for a lot of us, that psychological win of reducing the number of loans we have is a way more powerful motivator than just saving a bit on the total interest. It's the simple satisfaction of crossing a debt completely off your list that keeps you going. But here's the thing, and this is so important. Whether you choose the avalanche or the snowball, there are these common mistakes, these pitfalls that can completely sabotage your journey and keep you stuck in that debt cycle. Let's talk about 4 of the biggest ones. First, not having an emergency fund. Without that little cash cushion, one flat tire can send you right back to swiping a credit card. Second, only making minimum payments. That's like trying to run up an escalator that's going down. You'll barely make any progress. Third, ignoring those little debts while you focus on a big one. Those small balances can balloon with fees and penalties. And finally, closing your credit cards as soon as you pay them off. I know it feels like a victory, but it can actually hurt your credit score by messing with something called your credit utilization ratio.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, the strategies, and the pitfalls. Let's put it all together now into a simple but really powerful blueprint for taking back control of your financial life.
It's really just a 3-part plan. Step 1, you have to know your numbers. Get honest about what you owe and who you owe it to. Step 2, pick a strategy, the math or the mind, that fits your personality, the one you know you can actually stick with. And step 3, actively steer clear of those critical mistakes that can undo all of your hard work.
Because in the end, the goal isn't just about getting a number to zero on a spreadsheet. It's about what that freedom actually makes possible in your life. So we'll leave you with one final thought to chew on. What would your life look like? What could you do when your money is truly 100% your own?